Welcome back. So, if you've been paying attention to Dogecoin's price movement, you'll know that it is moving exactly like we anticipated. We have been tracking and doing the TA, and we were expecting this run up, this huge candlestick that we're seeing right here was to be expected. We were talking about this and charting the 14 crossing the 72. And we looked at history. We said that historically speaking, when this happens, we see major movement, at least for like the last year or so. This has been very true, and there's no evidence that this could potentially break down this time. And we were talking about charting this bull run, this bull here, which would have capped us at around 9.2. And of course, Dogecoin completely obliterated that and went to challenge immediately. Now, I will admit this is certainly unexpected because it went to challenge almost the top projection immediately. It blew through the bull, which is typically where we would expect the rejection to be, because it attempted to do this twice. It tried here back on January 19th, and here a couple times on February 19th. So literally a month apart. It tried here. So it was to be expected to say, hey, okay, maybe we'll have a slowdown here, some sideways movement, or even at least potentially here before we got the big breakout of the bull. But Dogecoin said absolutely not. We're just going to blow through all of that with this candlestick to heaven here. So the candlestick was so strong, it actually put Dogecoin in a different zone, right? So right now we're looking at we're in the peak zone for this run actually right now. So, and even with the push down, the consolidation, I see right now we have red candle forming. It hasn't closed yet, so we'll see where that closes. But we're in the peak of the zone here for the last run. So the question is this positioning us for that run, the 12 cent? And is this going to be, are we going to see a similar climb to the run that we've seen here, which should propel us to the next point of resistance here, which would be on the macro scale, that 15 to 16 cent after the 12 cent run. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So if we're looking at the price action and going toward consolidating out of this zone, where we close at right now is it's not that big of a deal, but ultimately what we're looking at is to establish a trend here of higher highs. Now, obviously, if this just if we had a big candle up here and consolidated 15, 20 cent and continued that, then obviously we'd have to move this up. But ultimately, this is the trend that matters most right now, which would be from the bottom going something like this, right? That blue line is where you want to keep your eyes, roughly. So what happens here is really, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but obviously the stronger this movement is, because who knows, like I said, this can continue. This is, for example, let's say we have this small candle here. Let's just say we have very little price action going forward for the remainder of the day. And then we can start chugging along here or start getting some bigger candles, something like that. Then we could go something maybe like this. Either one of those are fine. But that is kind of going to be where we're establishing the next trend, because if you start to go, technically you're trading from zone to zone, you're going to be looking for, okay, what is going to be that next trend, so you can kind of get an idea of what consolidation looks like, because people typically have a bad habit of only charting the green candles and not having the expectations of where it can consolidate to, which leads to panic selling or misinformation or being frustrated with the coin, all that kind of good stuff. So, but here we do both, so that we have an idea of what we're working with and what to expect. So these are the two things that we're going to be looking for over the next 3 days to kind of see where we're going to have that consolidation at. We are relatively close to the 954, which is going to be the beginning of this zone here for Fibonacci. So that 954 mark is going to be like the zero for Fibonacci. So we're looking for is to ultimately, the goal is to establish a movement in this zone here. And then obviously we're going to go to the negative 3.82. And this is going to be the biggest catalyst to get us to 12 cent. But ultimately, this zone, where we're going to consolidate at, and then what we're looking at is retesting around this 10.6 mark. And we broke above, we hit 10.12 briefly today, got a push down. We'll check shorts in a minute. But ultimately, this is kind of what we're looking for. And this is just one of the things you can point out and say that, okay, what Dogecoin is a little bit unpredictable here, because we were supposed to I'm not gonna say we're supposed to struggle here, but this is a reasonable area to struggle with. That 9.7, excuse me, the 9.2 mark here down to the 9.1. If you look at the back and forth that happened here on the decline, this was a reasonable area to struggle with, and Dogecoin struggled not at all. So I'm not saying that it's going to repeat this and just blow through this again, but it's possible. If you've been charting this coin for a while, or at least been invested for a while, you'll know that it can do something certainly unexpected when it comes to momentum to the upside. You can chart and say, oh, it's going to be some resistance here, and we may consolidate here, and then something happens, and then it just absolutely explodes through all of that. And now you're going to have to move everything up because those points are invalid now. So where we close at now, as far as for the run to 12 cent, I want to make sure I make this point clear here. We're looking at a few things. Where we consolidate as far as for this current trend, this is we'll establish it right now. So this here is just, I guess, a little bit of hopium, if you will, to say that we'll consolidate here. As of right now, we were not going to. Matter of fact, I'm going to delete this because we don't want to put that out there until it actually happens here. That could be a potential trend, but right now we're going to keep it where it's at. This is the current trend right now. So this is what technically matters right now. We'll see going forward. We'll get a few more days and we'll see where that consolidation point is. And it can consolidate, and just so you guys know, it can consolidate anywhere in between there, and that could be the trend. So it doesn't have to be this here, but as of right now, this is the line. It could be halfway up. It could be 3/4. Any of that matter. None of that matters right now. This is the current trend. And all of them are putting it in this next zone here within the next week or so, even if we have very minimal movement going forward. So that's going to be very important. The next thing is obviously this 10.6 mark and how Doge handles it. Now, even if it trends sideways here, because if you look at the smaller bowl here, which is the one that we were climbing out of somewhat slowly, then you can look, okay, at the bowl within the bowl, right? And you can say, okay, well, this here can feel like this here, and you can see you can have this fill here, and then outside of that, when you have the 10.6, this is what kind of sets you up for that run to the 12 cent range here. So, and then you have to kind of zoom out here and take a look at the bigger macros here, but that kind of sets you up for that run here into the next zone. And then of course, typically, if you're looking at history, I know from 12 to 16, that's the question. Okay, what's it going to take for us to get there? Historically speaking, 12 to 16, at least that high 15 range, is typically a gap zone for Doge. So even if you're trying to chart that, if you're looking at 12 to 16, typically you're going to see a candle, something like this here, but it's going to be much bigger. Typically that run, I think it went to 17 cent briefly when Elon purchased Twitter. Typically that's going to be a big gap zone there. So that happens relatively quickly. We'll chart it once we get there, but that run to 16, the biggest catalyst you're going to be filling that bowl right now, that 10.6, and getting the 12. And typically that 12 to 16 is literally just like a jump like that. And then depending on, I don't want to get too far ahead of the current trend, but depending on how that holds, then we can lay out the foundation for 20 cent and stuff like that. So, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Let's take a look here at shorts really quickly to see if they've shown their head. Not really. Had some movement at least yesterday, but as of right now, nothing big. 0% on the day as far as for increases. So they are, I won't say they're bowing out, but as of right now, nothing too big to report on. I'll take a look at BTC and see if some of that spillover is coming. Yeah, BTC 57K, same thing here. This is what I was talking about, that powerful 14 crossing 72, then that ride to heaven. This is what I was talking about. So this can be, if we're looking at the current trends, where we are right now, if you compare this to any of the coins in the crypto market, when that indicator crosses, typically you go on a run. And that's been true for any of the, I say like the top 10 crypto, that's been kind of true. You cross that, once that indicator crosses, you go on that tear. So we'll see if this holds true with Doge, but so far that has been absolutely the case, at least for the last year with Doge. So that's why I felt comfortable making that call a few weeks ago. So we'll see. We have left the 14-day And we'll see if this tear is going to continue. If we look at, give you some more hopium here. This was a double basically from the bottom. So if we, this is 7.8. Yeah, so this kind of aligns with, so if we repeat the last trend and we have that double, technically speaking, we'll consolidate somewhere at the end of this trend. When we have the sell-off, we'll be at around 16, which is the top of this zone. And then we should consolidate roughly to around 12 cents. So that actually aligns with the TA that we've been doing. If you kind of want to back test that TA, that trend actually kind of aligns with what we've been talking about. So if that holds true, if we see a repeat of the last cycle, we'll be looking at 16 cents with the consolidation back down to 12. So we will see how that plays out. Certainly a little bit of hopium in there, and we'll see obviously how shorts respond, because they will certainly get more aggressive as we get up here. So we will certainly see the temperament of the market and whether or not they're going to be interested in taking profits depending on where they got in at. So that will all play big parts going forward. So that being said, that is my update on Dogecoin's price action, how we're going to get the 12 cent, how we're going to get the 16 cent, what it kind of looks like, laying out that foundation. We will keep charting it as it happens. I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you for sharing the videos, liking the videos. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and I will see you guys in the next one.